शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतावारिणे
सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare
Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya
Jai Jai Gopal Jaya Jaya
Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya
Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda 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 Jaya Jaya
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Now, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
सभी कृपया उठ जाइए, कृपया अपने स्थान पर खड़े हो जाइए. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. I think devotees have to make a little way for Maharaj to come, I think. Huh? Can make a little. Maharaj will come now like this. We can sing till Maharaj comes.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki.
Hare Krishna. We are extremely blessed to have the association of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So, on the order of Maharaj and Darshan Prabhu, and by the permission of Maharaj, I'd like to briefly introduce Maharaj. As such, all of us have been to Juhu at one time or other, and we've all seen the Abhay Charan video series, and we have participated in the 40th anniversary of ISKCON Juhu also. So anybody who has been connected to Juhu, which is our headquarters for all the Indian ISKCON, so then His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj's name is well known, and his contribution in bringing up the project and going through the struggles of that project is so well known to all of us actually. So, but I'll give a brief introduction. Maharaj was born as Glenn Philip Tetton, and he was the only son of a respected Chicago lawyer, who was later appointed as judge. So it was a very exceptional thing because in those days our movement was attracting a lot of devotees who have given up his studies and all, but Maharaj came from a very respectable family, completing his studies and other things. And in March of 1969, while studying at Brandeis University in Boston, he met Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, from whom he felt he learned more in one brief exchange than he had learned in his many years of academic education. After graduating from that university, he accepted formal initiation from Srila Prabhupada and received the spiritual name Giriraj Das. Maharaj quickly became a leading member of the Boston Center, and he was soon given the opportunity to go to India with Srila Prabhupada and helped establish Prabhupada's mission there. So, Prabhupada has asked one devotee from each center to be sent so that the Indian Yatra activities can be well organized. And then Maharaj was sent from the Boston Center. And that's how Maharaj came in 1972 in India. And it's very, actually a lot of things are there. I read the books by Maharaj about Maharaj. So how Maharaj was so enthusiastically doing kirtan at a Muslim country. And the person was having the gun, the guard. And Maharaj was jumping so enthusiastically that he was just so shocked what to do that. And that was just a connecting flight Maharaj has to catch. So a lot of memories about that. And in 1972, Maharaj was appointed by Srila Prabhupada to be the president of ISKCON Bombay and trustee of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Since then, he has made many significant contributions to Srila Prabhupada's mission, most notably overseeing all aspects of the development of HareKrishna land in Juhu, Bombay. Maharaj is one of the personality to whom Srila Prabhupada written many letters, and many detailed letters, because Maharaj will write a very detailed report as well as ask many questions. So many of the vital instructions about many parts, be it deity worship, be it food for life, be it taking care of devotees, be it cultivating the life members, they are there in the personal exchanges between Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So they are all there in his book. I'll build a temple very detailed of those letters. He has directed the society's activities in Bombay, Mauritius, South Africa, Spain, Portugal, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan, and is instrumental in the acquisition and development of the Bhaktivedanta Ashram in Govardhan, and that led the development of the Kirtan Ashram for women, the Bhaktivedanta Hospice, and the Vrindavan Institute of Palliative Care, all in Vrindavan. So these are the activities which are inspired and funded by Maharaj there. In the year following Srila Prabhupada's departure in 1977, Maharaj was awarded the Renounced Order of Life and appointed President of ISKCON's Board of Trustees in India. He is an initiating spiritual master in the society and an emeritus member of its governing body commission. Maharaj has also taught the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education and continues to lecture and to give presentations at spiritual retreats and workshops across the world. Presently, Maharaj is based at Carpinteria, California, and Maharaj is now focusing on one of the main personal instruction he received from Srila Prabhupada to write. So this is also interesting. There's a whole pastime around that, how Prabhupada instructed Maharaj that he should write. And then Maharaj landed up in Juhu, where he had to do all management. So then Maharaj will narrate it many sometimes. And then Prabhupada clarified that now you do whatever the needful and manage, and later you write. So now Maharaj is focusing more on that instruction to write. He is the author of many wonderful books like Watering the Seed, which contains Maharaj's interaction with Srila Prabhupada, Many Moons, Reflections on Departed Vaishnava. So this is a book which contains very beautiful description of how devotees dedicated their life in service of Srila Prabhupada and how they departed very gloriously and went back home, back to Godhead. And the recent mega book, I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu Story. And the editor of Life's Final Exam, Death and Dying from the Vedic Perspective. And is working on several publications, including books about his search for a spiritual master and his early days in the Boston Temple, his travels with Srila Prabhupada in India, and Vaishnava holidays. He has become renowned for his austerities. He has accepted his loyalty and dedication to Srila Prabhupada's mission, his ability to inspire and engage most important member of society, and his care for devotees around the world. So, there's a lot which I learned from Maharaj's book. I read this book, I Will Build Your Temple, the Jewish Story. It is such a marvelous book, giving so many details of what actually was that time and how Maharaj went through not only the external struggles, but within ISKCON also there were many challenges which may not be so well known without reading the book. So it was such a struggle, and Maharaj went through it and served Srila Prabhupada in such an amazing, dedicated way. And we are so extremely fortunate to have Maharaj here with us. And today morning, this wonderful class here. So I will request Radhesham Prabhu to please add. Okay, so let us heartily welcome and greet Maharaj here at Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Temple by very loudly chanting 3 times. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you all for joining us this morning. I will begin by singing the Mangalacharana prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then I will read and discuss one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam.
इस प्रवचन का हिंदी भाषांतर नीचे हो रहा है भक्तिवेदांता हॉल में, और एफएम पर भी ये उपलब्ध है, तो आप एफएम पर सुन सकते हैं अगर आप यहाँ बैठे हैं तो, या फिर नीचे भक्तिवेदांता हॉल में इसका हिंदी अनुवाद आप सुन सकते हैं. हरे कृष्ण.
And then we will
FM is 89.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam stam sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvidangsta Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva. Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hari Das Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nita Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. I'm going to attend to something for a couple of minutes and I'll be right back. In the meantime, chant and be happy.
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
slow, slow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We shall read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, Text 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sa Yada Anuvrata Pumsam Pashubudhi Vibidyate Anya Esha Tata Anya Aham Iti Veda Gata Asati Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Anurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Iti Veda Gatasati. Vaishnavis, Sayadanurata Pumsam Pashu Buddhir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Tapumsam Tatanyoham Niragadasati, Sa, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yada, when, Anuvrata, favorable or pleased, Pumsam, of the conditioned souls, Pashubudhi, the animalistic conception of life. I am the Supreme, and everyone is God. Vibidyate is destroyed. Anya, another. Aisha, this. Tata, as well as. Anya, another. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Bheda, distinction. Gata, having. Asati, which is disastrous. Translation. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Please repeat. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased, with the living entity, because of his devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God. And therefore we are not different from one another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and demoniac father asked him how his intelligence had become polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, "As far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna. But under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another." So this consciousness, Pashubuddhi, thinking of oneself as the center or the supreme, is the general psychology of the conditioned soul. As my dear godbrother Burijan Prabhu said, it's as if everyone wants to clear his throat and say, "Excuse me, please. I have an important announcement to make. I am the center of the universe, and you all should cooperate with me." And everyone more or less has the same psychology, so naturally there's going to be conflict. As Burijan Prabhu also said, people envision life as a movie or a drama in which each person thinks he or she is the hero or heroine, and everyone else is the supporting cast. So I think I'm the hero of the story, and you all are my supporting cast. You're meant to support me, and each of you thinks, no, I'm the hero of the story, and you all are meant to support me. And thus, there is conflict. But all of that can be changed by acknowledging that Krishna is the center and we are his eternal servants. As Lord Chaitanya said, and I also quoted last night, Jiver Swarubhai Krishna Nityadas. The constitutional position of the living entity is he is the eternal servant of Krishna. So back to the purport. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna, but under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. So, yes, when the conditioned soul thinks that he is the center and everyone else should support him in his material pursuits. So if someone does support him, he considers that person to be his friend, and if someone does not support him in his material pursuits, he considers that person to be an enemy. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God, and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master. For then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. So this is a beautiful point, as Srila Prabhupada said. If we want brotherhood, how will we have brotherhood unless we have the same Father? So when we all accept that Krishna is our Supreme Father, then we can have brotherhood and friendly relations with one another. Demons think of everyone as a friend or enemy, but Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnav treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Srila Prabhupada himself is the perfect example of the pure devotee with the vision that everyone is an eternal servant of Krishna, and that we should approach everyone to help them awaken to their actual identities as Krishna's eternal servants. Therefore, a Vaishnava treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8,400,000 species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. So Srila Prabhupada is indicating that a devotee feels oneness with every living entity, regardless of what type of body that living entity is inhabiting for the time being. The Ishopanishad advises ekatvam anupashyataha. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart, and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also ekatvam. So Srila Prabhupada has presented the sublime philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a Chintya Veda Vedtattva, inconceivable, simultaneous, oneness, and difference. The living entity and the Supreme Lord are one in quality, but different in quantity. As Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord is infinite, and the living entities are infinitesimal, which we would say infinitesimal. So because there's oneness in quality, we can have a relationship, because we're all spiritual. But because of the difference in quantity, the relationship is defined as master and servant. But the oneness is there in quality. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart, and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also ekatvam. Thus, the conception of ekatvam for the Vaishnav is different from that of the Mayavadi. Hiranyakasipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally become inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. So Hiranyakashipu had a brother named Hiranyaksha, who was also a demon. And that demon was killed by Vishnu in the form of Varahadev. So, if a family member is killed, the other family members should naturally feel antagonistic towards the murderer. But in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, he was not antagonistic to the murderer, Vishnu, but rather was favorable to Vishnu. And this struck Hiranyakashipu as being very wrong. So, when a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore, he asked, "Who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way." So, probably you know the story that when Prahlad Maharaj was still within the womb of his mother, she was taken by Sri Narada Muni to his ashram for protection. And while Prahlad was in the womb, he heard Narada's spiritual instructions, and he remembered them after his birth. So Hiranyakasipu is asking, "Who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think that this way." So it was actually by the grace of his spiritual master, Srila Narada Muni, that Prahlad was able to have this vision. And therefore, earlier, as Srila Prabhupada renders Prahlad's thoughts, "By the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend." Therefore, Hiranyakasipu asked, "Who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way." Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Yad anuvrata. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantam richati. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is pashubuddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks, I am different from my enemy, and my enemy is different from me. The enemy has done this, and therefore my duty is to kill him. That was Hiranyakasipu's attitude. This misconception is described in this verse as Beda Gatasati. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiver Srupai, Krishna and Nityadas. As servants of the Lord, we are one, and there can be no question of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that every one of us is a servant of the Lord, then where is the question of enemy or friend? And the next paragraph in the purport, the last paragraph is wonderful and is very relevant and instructive for all of us as devotees or aspiring devotees. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. I'll repeat. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnava thinking. Vaikuntha thinking. Okay, you don't have to repeat more. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service, but in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. So Srila Prabhupada did encourage competition in book distribution and other aspects of devotional service. But he explained the difference between transcendental competition and mundane competition. In mundane competition, there's envy, and one does not appreciate the good qualities or the good service of the other person. That's mundane. But in transcendental competition, one appreciates the good qualities and service of the other, but still one wants to excel the other to give more pleasure to Guru and Krishna. So that is transcendental competition. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform, and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham ridi sannivisto atasmitra jnanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. So devotees are inclined to serve the Lord in different ways according to their individual capacities, and the Lord within the heart gives them the intelligence how to serve him. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service life after life and are punished by the laws of nature. So mata smitir jnanam apohanam cha. So smitir means remembrance, and Krishna from within the heart helps the devotee to remember him. And that is the basic principle of Vaidhi Bhakti, to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Smartavya satatam Vishnu smartavya nadatu chit. But the non-devotees want to forget the Lord, and the Lord within the heart helps them too to forget. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the devotees forget the Lord's service life after life and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord, like all of you, the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yoga. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend, and everyone is working under different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality. So this is unity in variety. There's unity because we are all servants of the Lord, and there's variety because we are all individuals and will offer our own individual service to the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada said that this principle of unity and in diversity is so important that the GBC, when they meet, should discuss how this principle of unity and diversity can be applied in ISKCON. So, this is a very beautiful verse in purport. filled with many wonderful, relevant instructions for us, so we should take them to heart and, see one another as servants of Krishna, and no friends and enemies in the mundane sense, but as Krishna is a friend of every living entity, the devotee should also be the friend of every living entity. Sarva Bhuta Dehina. So thank you very much. This consciousness can be developed, especially by chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By chanting the holy names, Cheto Darbano Marjanam, all the dirty things from the heart are cleansed. And Srila Prabhupada says the first dirty thing is identifying with the body, thinking I'm the body. And so we can realize our spiritual identities and appreciate the spiritual identities of others as eternal servants of Krishna by hearing, Shravanam, hearing the philosophy as we are from Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam, and also by cleansing our hearts through chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna. So now if any of you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you very much for your wonderful and enlightening lecture. Maharaj, I have one question. As the scenario in which we are too much steeped in ignorance. That's why naturally we differentiate between friends and enemies. So how best can we apply this verse in current scenario at every moment? How can we see that we all are servants of Krishna without being swayed away by the thoughts of friends and enemies?
On what basis do you consider someone to be a friend, and on what
Just
basis
as you said, Maharaj, according to the material pursuits.
Well, as I said, chant, purify your heart, and hear from Shastra, and appreciate that everyone is an eternal servant of Krishna. Therefore, we all are one by nature. Of course, as I mentioned yesterday, devotees deal with people in different categories differently. Prema, Maitri, Kripopeksha, Sakaroti, Samadhyama. So prema, one gives one's love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitri, one makes friendship with devotees. Kripa, one shows mercy to the innocent by giving them Krishna consciousness. And upeksha, one neglects the envious, because if we try to preach to them, they'll probably just become more inimical. So we neglect them, but again, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, commenting on this verse, we can pray for them, but we don't approach them to preach to them.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there was one line in the purport that attitude favorable towards Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. So if one is supposed not able to do bhakti properly, then it is that that Lord is not favorable, but he is also always merciful. So
yes, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yeyatam mam prapadyante. So if you're favorable to Krishna, and every devotee is cultivating the mood of being favorable to Krishna. So if you're favorable to Krishna, Krishna will be favorable to you. And as long as you maintain that desire and intention, even if your execution of devotional service is not perfect, Krishna will recognize that you're trying to serve him favorably, and he will be favorable to you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji, Dandavat Pranam. As Prabhupada stated in the purport that spiritual master induced this consciousness of like everyone is part and parcel of Krishna and Lord is present in their heart. And it is by listening to the spiritual master that comes. But my question is that how can we like the spiritual master says that we are eternal servant of Krishna and everyone is there. But how to take these words and of spiritual master into the heart and follow that and like, how it develops in the
Well, by, sincere, attentive, offenseless chanting. That's also, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that will purify your heart and enable you to experience that consciousness and have that vision. So yeah, keep chanting. Chant, chant, chant.
And one more thing, Maharaji, as today is Mahatmadashi and Gita Jayanti, so could you share a pastime of Srila Prabhupada regarding book distribution, which is very dear to your heart? Any pastime of Srila Prabhupada, which is very...
Srila Prabhupada and what?
A book distribution pastime related to, which will inspire all devotees to distribute books.
Oh, a pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Oh. Well, as we know, Srila Prabhupada very much wanted his books to be distributed. I see a quotation right here in front of me. Distribution of books and magazines is our most important activity. Without books, our preaching has no solid basis. And Srila Prabhupada gave that maxim, books are the basis. Preaching is the essence, utility is the principle. So, yes, especially now, December, the marathon, we should make every effort to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books profusely, as many as possible. Very good.
Maharaj, my question is when we are dealing with devotees and if we have to give some correction, so how we should give correction without committing offenses? Because we are dealing with Vaishnavas, so sometimes we may commit offenses. So how to do it correctly? Hare Krishna.
How to instruct or correct a devotee without committing offenses?
Yes.
Yes, sometimes we do have to do that, especially if we're in a position of authority, but we should do it humbly and respectfully. Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada asked us to address one another as Prabhu. Prabhu means master. As Srila Prabhupada said, not that we say, oh Prabhu, please bring me my shoes. not that kind of Prabhu. Yeah. So, I'm going to have to take a break for another couple of minutes, but I'll be happy to come back and do more questions and answers.
वीडियो रेडी? हरे कृष्णा। आज एक बहुत ही विशेष अवसर है। टुडे इज अ वेरी स्पेशल इवेंट. Today we are releasing a very special book written by Madan Mohan Mohini Mataji. How many of you know Mohini? She is the glorious daughter of His Grace Parashuram Prabhu and Mataji, and she had compiled her journal while going through this journey in life, as you will read in the book. Maharaj will be personally launching that book. But before that, there's a beautiful video she has sent. She could not come personally because of her failing health. So she has sent a video. We'll see the video, and after that Maharaj will release the book, and then book is available in a special discounted price today. So you all can take advantage of this book after the launch.
Let him do announcement first.
We will launch the video after Maharaj comes. Maharaj want to see the video. We can have kirtans or announcement. What? No.
कुछ महत्वपूर्ण अनाउंसमेंट इस प्रकार है कि महाराज जी मंगलवार के दिन श्री श्री राधा कुंज बिहारी मंदिर में शाम को 7 बजे से लेके 8 बजे तक महाराज जी का वहां सत्संग होगा. 9 तारीख को श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास महाराज का एनवीसीसी में होगा. तो इसके बाद आप जैसे बताया कि महाराज आने के बाद यहाँ एक वीडियो दिखाया जाएगा और महाराज जी के कर कमलों द्वारा एक किताब का लॉन्चिंग भी होगा. जैसे ये क्लास खत्म होने के बाद आप प्रसादम लेने के लिए जाओगे और प्रसाद के बाद यहाँ भगवत गीता रिसाइटेशन होने वाला है. कल श्रीमद् भगवत गीता जयंती हुई थी. इसी उपलक्ष्य में करीब करीब 250 भक्तों ने रजिस्ट्रेशन कर दिया है. तो भक्तों को निवेदन है, जो भक्त भी बैठना चाहते हैं, ये पूरे 18 अध्याय 700 श्लोक 2.5 घंटे में प्लान किया है. तो 10 बजे से 12:30 बजे तक ये प्लान था. थोड़ा 5-10 मिनट डिले हो सकता है. तो आप रिसाइटेशन में जो भक्त बैठना चाहते हैं, आप आपकी गीता लेके यहाँ रिसाइटेशन के लिए बैठ सकते हो. 12:30 बजे दर्शन होगा, आरती होगी, दर्शन होगा और उसके बाद सभी के लिए प्रसाद रखा है जो भक्त रिसाइटेशन में बैठेंगे उनके लिए. 5 तारीख को मतलब आज एकादशी है, कल पारणा का समय जो है 6:53 से लेके 10:34 तक है. परम पूज्य गिरिराज स्वामी महाराज के साथ साथ हमारे बीच में भक्ति बृहद भागवत स्वामी महाराज भी आज उपस्थित है. तो महाराज जी का शेड्यूल जो है भक्ति बृहत भागवत स्वामी महाराज का शेड्यूल इस प्रकार है. महाराज 7 दिसंबर को बुधवार के दिन क्लास देने वाले हैं श्रीमद् भागवतम का अर्ली मॉर्निंग एनवीसीसी में, और 8 तारीख को गुरुवार के दिन महाराज क्लास देंगे कुंज बिहारी में. अभी कुछ अनाउंसमेंट बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के बारे में है. सर्वलक्षण तो वो बात करेंगे.
हरे कृष्णा. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. सभी भक्तों ने कल गीता जयंती के अवसर पर बहुत अच्छे से ग्रंथ वितरण भी किए हैं और काफ़ी सारे काउंसिलर्स अपने टारगेट जो प्लेज है वो भी दिए हैं. तो इस साल में बहुत ही विशेष एक ये है. तो हम श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र मंदिर का 10वां साल आगे 23rd को एनिवर्सरी मनाने वाले हैं. तो इसीलिए हमें इस बार भी पिछले 3 साल ये इस्कॉन पुणे नंबर 1 आ चुका है मैराथन में. इस साल भी हमें श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र का 10वां एनिवर्सरी पे भगवान को एक अच्छा गिफ्ट देना है, अच्छे से ग्रंथ वितरण करके और उनको खुश करना है. साथ साथ में श्रील प्रभुपाद जी ने यह भगवद गीता जो है इसको 1972 में लिखे थे. तो अब कितना साल कंप्लीट हो रहा है? 50 years कंप्लीटिंग. श्रील प्रभुपाद ने 72 में ग्रंथ लिखे थे भगवद गीता और 50वां साल कंप्लीट हो रहा है. तो सवेरे सनातन धर्म प्रभु यहाँ पर खड़े हो जाइए. प्रभु जी बोल रहे हैं कि मैं इस साल 50,000 भगवद गीता वितरण करूंगा. हरि बोल. तो प्रभु जी कराड़ी सेंटर में लीड करते हैं। तो ऐसे हर वक्त अगर 50,000 है ना कुछ भी करेंगे तो ऐसे काफी सारे। और एक कहना ये है, तो 1922 में श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती महाराज ने श्रील प्रभुपाद जी को इंस्ट्रक्शन दिए थे कि आपको अगर पैसा मिले तो ग्रंथ का छापना और अंग्रेज भाषा में प्रचार करना। और ग्रंथ छापने के लिए भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती महाराज ने श्रील प्रभुपाद जी को इंस्ट्रक्शन देके कितना साल कंप्लीट हो गया? 1922 से 2022 कितना साल हो रहा है? 100 ईयर कंप्लीट हो रहा है। तो कम से कम हमें श्रील प्रभुपाद जी का 126वां जन्मदिन में कम से कम 126 ग्रंथ हर एक को वितरण करना है, और उसके लिए भी प्राइजेस है। और खास करके इस साल हिज ग्रेस सुंदरवर प्रभु ने बहुत सुंदर तरीके से एक ये यशोदा दामोदर का विग्रह भी बना रहे हैं, जो 500 भगवद गीता वितरण करेंगे उनके लिए भी मिलने वाला है, और जो 1000 भगवद गीता वितरण करेंगे उनके लिए भी एक मृदंग का गिफ्ट है। और खास करके इस साल जो टॉप 10 टीम्स जो बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करेंगे उनके लिए श्री श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र का फ्लूट मिलने वाला है। हरि बोल। तो ये टॉप 10 जो भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करेगा श्री श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र का स्पेशल फ्लूट मिलेगा। परम पूज्य गोपाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी महाराज जी ने हमको वादा किए थे ग्रंथ वितरण के बाद प्राइज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए आने वाले महाराज जी के हाथ से ये फ्लूट जो टीम लेना चाहते हैं तो अभी प्रिपेयर करने के लिए आपके पास 1.5 महीना है। हरि बोल। तो महाराज जी अभी इसके बाद जो अनाउंसमेंट होगा और इसका किताब भी महाराज इसमें सिग्नेचर करने वाले हैं। तो जिन भक्तों को इस ग्रंथ को उपलब्ध करना है तो महाराज जी का कल काफी सारे भक्तों ने उनके ऊपर लिखे थे, सिग्नेचर लिए थे। और जिन भक्तों को इस महाराज जी के हाथों द्वारा लिखा हुआ ग्रंथ को प्राप्त करना है, यहाँ पर एक टेबल लगाया जाएगा और इसके बाद महाराज उसके ऊपर सिग्नेचर करेंगे। हरे कृष्णा। अभी हम देखेंगे मोहिनी मदन मोहिनी माता जी का एक बारे में किताब के बारे में एक वीडियो। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all of you. My name is Madan Mohan Dasi. I am 22 years old, and today I am so happy and I feel greatly honored to present to you my first book, Twice as Bright, A Young Girl's Journal of Devotion. Becoming an author has been a long time dream for me. And writing has been something very close to my heart. And living a life like mine where my genetic and progressive illness, muscular dystrophy, has been limiting me more and more and confining me to my bedroom. I've always had the desire to do something and be someone and contribute in some way. And I found writing as a place where I could pour my heart out. And this book, which is a journal that I wrote, keeping in mind all of you, where I attempt to honestly share with all of you my journey of wanting to be a nice devotee, but at the same time dealing with the struggles of living in this material world and those of a diseased body. And I hope that through this book I can connect with all of you. I've been very fortunate to be in a Krishna conscious environment and live in this Pune community for so many years. So many of you have personally encouraged me to write and encouraged me to be whoever I am today, and I'm really grateful for all of your love and blessings always. Even though we're not there at the launch of my book here personally, but I feel very blessed that it is happening in the presence of my dear spiritual master, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, and all of you. And I can't wait for you to read my book, and I pray that for all that I have received in my entire life, being in such a beautiful Krishna conscious community of devotees that Srila Prabhupada has blessed us with, I pray that in return to all of that, through this book of mine, I can render some service. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Guru Parampara. All glories to all of you. Hare Krishna. I can render some service. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Guru Parampara. All glories to all of you. Hare Krishna.
So this is Madan Mohan Mohini Dasi's book. Twice as Bright, and the title was actually suggested by His Grace Kalachandji Das, who is Tamal Krishna Goswami's brother and my main editor for my books. And he thought of the title, which comes from a saying by Lao Tzu: "The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long." So it's sort of, well, you get the idea. And here are some quotations. There are many, but here are some quotations. First, from His Holiness Bhakti True Swami. "Your writings are so full of realizations and feelings. I would very much like to see them printed." Then from Janavi Harrison, devotional musician, artist, and writer. "Mohini's heartfelt writings capture her joys, inspirations, and prayers as she navigates the ups and downs of life with profound health challenges. Her words inspire me to find courage and strength through all circumstances and remind me how precious every minute of this life is." And then Kalachandji Das wrote, "An intimate glimpse into a life of devotion, the reflections of a young girl on the path of bhakti with a faltering body but a heart full of love. Touching and relatable in its vulnerable honesty, inspiring in its determination." That's from Kalachandji Das, author, editor, and Professor Emeritus, St. Ambrose University. And the foreword was written by His Holiness Indradyumna Swami, and I'll read a little from his foreword. "In Madan Mohan Mohini Dasi's Twice as Bright, a young girl's journal of devotion, we see that age does not determine the level of one's advancement in Krishna consciousness. Mohini's journal entries are not recreational musings about spiritual life by a 19-year-old. Rather, she shares thoughts and realizations that are the outcome of her surrender to the Lord as she endures a lifelong struggle with muscular dystrophy." So this book is being released today, And the regular price will be 250 rupees, but in honor of the special occasion of the book launch, it will be available for only 200 rupees. So please get your copies. You can also buy extra copies to share with your friends and family members. Hare Krishna. So now, how do we proceed?
Actually, Maharaj's books were put on a table outside yesterday, but today we requested the table to move here. Maharaj's books are right here. You can pick up the book you wish, and then Maharaj will immediately sign and give you. Otherwise, yesterday it was getting a little delayed. So most welcome. There are varieties of books you all can come and see. Maharaj, there was a program here at 10 o'clock today for the Gita arranged by Bhakti Kalakshetra, correct now? So they were asking, are you going to arrange it below or here? Huh? They can wait? No problem. Should we take one or two more questions from Maharaj? Maharaj, can we have one or two more questions by you? One or two more questions we can ask you.
Yes, they can ask questions.
Yes. Maharaj, I wanted to ask one question. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, in those days, we had only Vrindavan Institute of Higher Education, VIHE. Then subsequently, we had MIHE, Mayapur Institute of Higher Education. And now we have many other similar institutions which have started within ISKCON, like we have Radhadesh, Belgium. We have an institute. We also have one institute in Govardhan Eco Village now. And there is also one institute in Vrindavan, IBMV they call it, ISKCON Bhagavat Mahavidyalaya. Pune also we have started one called as BVRV, we call it, Bhaktivedanta Rajavidyalaya.
Bhaktivedanta
Rajavidyalaya.
Rajavidya.
Yeah. So now in Pune we have 1,000 students connected to this in Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta. So sometimes I get mails of people asking me, where should I join? So, say I tell them that Bhaktivedanta Rajavidyalaya we have started in Pune, you are most welcome to join. So then we tell some advantages of joining here. One of our advantages is we are very cheap. We don't take any, very little money we take for the course. We are taking only like 2,000 rupees for the entire Bhakti Shastri like that. So one group of 40 devotees joined immediately because they wanted economical for their people. They joined. So sometimes I wonder when we are promoting what we are trying to do, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he talks about Chaitanya Bhagavat written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. He glorifies it extensively and then he is very cautious also. So in that sense, I wanted to ask you, when a devotee is doing something new or innovative or creative in the same field as what someone else is doing, so how should we act in such a way that it will not lead to any kind of Cold War or misunderstandings within our organization, because it will cancel the efforts for propagating the organization?
Well, the systematic study of Srila Prabhupada's books is most important. And we can have any number of venues for that activity. In Juhu, it's not exactly the same, but it shows Srila Prabhupada's mood. At the back of HareKrishna land, there were 6 tenement buildings, and each had like a flat roof. And Srila Prabhupada said that every evening we should simultaneously have classes on top of all the 6 buildings in different languages. So Yeah, I think there's no limit to how many institutions can teach the systematic study of Srila Prabhupada's books. And I mean, if I had to recommend one, I would definitely recommend. But but yeah, in any case, I really do urge all the devotees to undertake the systematic study of Srila Prabhupada's books and become qualified. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and so on. Yeah, very good. Wonderful.
I had a slightly similar question, Maharaj, but a different question. Like in Pune, we were once making a plan that we will start multiple small mini projects across Pune. Like about 50 points we located in Pune, which are good places, where one mini temple or mini preaching center can come, where about 200 to 300 community members can congregate there. And they can have deities also, and they can worship deities. It will be very easily in a localized way. Otherwise, nowadays traffic, travel long distances and heavy traffic becomes difficult. So my question was, when an ex-devotee is inside the temple here and he is going out and developing a community and bringing the people here, there is a very nice friendly mood. But when the same devotee goes out to his community, and then he has a community of say 200 to 300 people, now there is a concern for manpower and money power there. So now almost 3 or 4 of our senior brahmacharis have started mini communities in different places. So suddenly there is a fear by the parent temple that this chunk of funds which come will not come here now. And also this person was very talented, now he is serving in that place. Now he will not serve the interest of this temple, he will serve the interest of his project, you know. So my understanding was, just like the sparrows, you know, initially they have small offsprings, but when they grow up, they grow wings, they have their wife, children, family, and they go to another nest and they make their own house. And we should encourage that. That's what I was feeling. But sometimes people fear that if people expand in multiple places, what will happen to the parent? Will it not become depleted? So how to avoid those insecure feelings by parent project? You can say something about it.
Well, I don't see any signs of diminution in the parent project. The parent project is flourishing very nicely, and I mean, there's enough for everyone. I don't think we need to worry that if some qualified preacher develops another project, like a mini temple or community, then there will be less for the parent temple, because there's enough for everyone. And as you said, with traffic, and you know, it's not practical for people to come to the parent temple all the time. So it's a service to them if they can associate with devotees and learn and engage in devotional practices closer to where they are. So I think that's good. I mean, at one stage in Bombay, Srila Prabhupada said that Bombay is such a city that we could have 16 temples. So, yeah, why not?
Thank you, Maharaj. Any one last question? Anybody else?
If
there is anything from Mataji's side we should give, they never got a chance. Anybody from that side? Nobody. One last question. Here,
there's someone at the back sitting on a chair with his hand up.
Oh, is it? Someone sitting in the chair behind? Send the mic to that devotee.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class, and it's so nice to see you back in Pune. Maharaj, this question is split in two parts. We saw a lot about being the servant of Krishna. And you also spoke about the infinite and the infinitesimal. Now, in terms of the infinitesimal, we spoke about being the servant of the Lord, but we are taught of being the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So the infinitesimals are also unequal. I mean, there are greater infinitesimals than me. So I surrender to that person. So could you just share a little light on being the servant of the servant of the servant? That's one. And the second is the servant of the servant implies humility. Now, many times this humility takes on an extreme form wherein we tend to start diminishing our own abilities. We start underestimating our own abilities. So how do we balance that? Thank you so much, man.
Yes, today's verse and purport spoke of serving Krishna. Jive Sarabhai Krishna Nityadas. But it is true that we do not serve Krishna directly, but we serve him through parampara. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayar Dasa Dasa Anudasa, by being the servant of the servant of the servant. After Srila Prabhupada left, shortly after Srila Prabhupada left, I asked his disciple Pradumya Das, who was Srila Prabhupada's Sanskrit editor, that everything that we have in the material world exists in the spiritual world, but in its original pure form. So what is the counterpart to pride in the spiritual world? And Pradumya Prabhu replied that pride in the spiritual world is that I'm the servant of the servant of the servant, and I'm the last in the line. That means I have the most masters. So that is pride in the spiritual world. That in being the servant of the servant of the servant, you're the last in the line. Everyone is your master, and therefore you have the most masters, and that is your pride. And what was the other part? Oh, humility. Yes, yes. So, yeah, as someone aptly said, humility does not mean thinking less of yourself, but it means thinking of yourself less. So, yeah, you don't need to degrade yourself in your eyes or in anyone else's eyes, but just, yeah, be the humble servant of the servant, and yeah, you're the insignificant servant of Krishna, but because you're Krishna's servant, that's very significant. So, yeah, chant and be happy.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. And we are also looking forward to Maharaj's association more with the future programs. Yugalesham Prabhu, where are the future programs put up for the devotees? We have sent a WhatsApp to everybody. There is a poster put up in the notice board. You all can note down the programs which Maharaj is going to do. Some in this temple, some in the other temple. There is also any other program outside? Other places? Which place? Vishal Nagar? No. Only the Kunjiberi temple and here. Yeah, please make a note of the programs. Also, as well as Bhakti Bharat Maharaj is also giving. Please make a note of those programs. Now we wish to thank Maharaj with loud Haribo! Today when Maharaj chose this verse, I was stunned because I used to tell the students, go to folio and put the word Vaikuntha thinking. And I would tell that's a golden purport, most important. And we have done many seminars on that for the college youth we do. So Maharaj capture is like a Saragrahi, you know. He's giving one Bhagavatam solid, he captured the vital purport. He is actually teaching a very important principle for the practicing devotees to become free from that inimical attitude towards fellow devotees, because that cancels the energies mutually of different devotees in the movement. Rather, if you develop this Vaikuntha thinking, our society can multiply a million times more. Thank you, Maharaj. HareKrishna. Now the books are available. Please pick up the books and take suggestions.